Hey friends, Sam here, and I am so excited to share this episode with you today. We're talking about mompreneur mom guilt. It's real, it's vicious, and you know what? It's just so silly. So ladies, I'm going to lead you today in letting go of this mom guilt. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story, but also encourage you in these main myths of mompreneur mom guilt and why you need to let go of it now. Well, hello, my friends. It's just me today, just Sam with you, because we're going to have a real talk about mom guilt. Yep. This has been and will always be a recurring topic for women, mothers, and entrepreneurs wearing many hats. So I find this topic frustrating, if I can just be honest with you. Not because it's not real. Man, mom guilt is so real. And mom guilt is one of those things that takes so many brilliant, talented women out of the game of creation, just to be honest. And now I'm not saying that every mom is meant to be also an entrepreneur, because that's not the case. But there are so many women out there, so many moms, that they do have this longing in their heart to create or contribute or just, get out there and experiment with life a little. But when you are a mom, the struggle is that your priority is always your children. And that's such a great thing. But when you have something that takes up such a large piece of your heart, that's when the struggle enters. But it's not just, there's just so many things that contribute to this. So let me kind of explain. I'll take you back a little bit into my journey. So when I was 26, Harold and I decided that we were going to become small business owners, and we began the process of opening our gym. By the time I was 27, that gym was finished. And we were so excited because it was like our baby, right? And then we found out we were actually having a baby, which was just one of the most beautiful blessings and surprises. We were married. We knew that we wanted to have children. So it wasn't like, that it completely threw us out of the loop of just, our plans and everything. But we didn't have plans to open a business and have a baby practically at the same time. And in my head, just to be honest of, what I thought that we would open this business. We would take about 5 years to get it up and going. And then we would maybe talk about having a baby, and I would probably just have one. I mean, don't we all just have those kind of plans in our head where we think we're going to know exactly how it goes? If I can just be honest, I told myself, you'll never be that mom, that stops being herself or stops contributing or stops working even. You're not going to be that mom, Sam. You're going to be able to figure this all out. And then I had the most beautiful baby girl on May 29th in 2008, and I fell madly in love. And I knew my life would never be the same. And I was so grateful because I knew that was going to be the biggest blessing of my life, being a mother. And as she got just slightly older, by the time she was 3 months, and it was time to find childcare and so that I could go back to work a little bit more, I felt a feeling I had never felt. I felt like I didn't want to go back to work. I didn't want to go back to that gym. I wanted to spend time with her. And so actually, one of the first times that I experienced mom guilt was one of the best things for me. It actually led me to realizing that I wanted to work, but I didn't want to work away from my child. And so if I hadn't experienced that guilt, I wouldn't have been provoked to look for another solution. I would probably today be still a small business owner. And if I hadn't had children. But to be honest, I would probably feel very unfulfilled because that business was a blessing, but wasn't meant to be the long game. And had it not been for having my first child and feeling that tug on my heart, then I don't think we'd be where we are today. I don't think we would have made the pivot or the change in our lifestyles and in our career path. So I looked for an at-home business and I found it. And I thought, you know what? You're going to be like Martha Stewart and Betty Crocker all in one, working from home, taking care of your kids. And then another baby comes and I'm on number 2. And the laundry keeps piling up and the dishes keep piling up. And I've got phone calls and messages and I just feel so scattered. And the reality was, although I got to spend more time with my children working from home, it didn't necessarily just make things easier. I had to get really, really clear on what I wanted. I hear women all the time. They come to me and they ask me, how do you do it all? I think the number one solution in navigating mom guilt is realizing that you can't do it all. So that was probably my biggest mistake. My biggest mistake was thinking that by leaving a very physical, in-person job that I had as being a small business owner and a personal trainer and all the things that I did there, I thought that by coming home, I would be able to do it all better. A lot of our mom guilt is coming from you feeling inadequate in doing things that you can't necessarily do all by yourself, or having an expectation of yourself that is so far from what you can actually complete in a day, a week, a month, or even a year, to be honest. I feel like if we didn't have this expectation on us as women and as moms to be superwoman all the time, I don't know if mom guilt would even exist. But whether someone has put it on you or you've put it on yourself, we have this superwoman complex. And for a lot of people that we coach and mentor and women that are building businesses from home, there's going to be so many blessings, but there's going to be so many of you that want to quit just simply because you feel like you can't work and get the laundry done. You feel like you've got your phone in front of your face instead of being in front of your children's faces. The second mistake that I made from building an at-home business while also raising and having children was I felt guilty for working. There was times I felt guilty for being on my computer, from being on my phone. And I had this complex that if I wasn't giving my children 100% of my attention, 100% of the time, that I was a bad mom, that I wasn't prioritizing them. In reality, what that was pointing out for me was that I needed to have work boundaries. What did I need to do for myself that you can do for yourself to make yourself feel good about the fact that both you can be home with your children and building a business? Is you need to know that you have work hours. Just as if you left your home for work, you would have check-in time and you would have a checkout time and you should have a lunch time, hopefully, right? So should we not just comply by labor laws, right? Do you not get to eat? Do you not get to have breakfast with your family or dinner? But the thing is, mamas, when you are a mompreneur, you're going to always put yourself last unless you know that you shouldn't. And so if you don't want to feel guilty about working from home when your children are home, then you have to set up standards for when you are working first. Then next, you have to get really real with yourself, just like I did. I realized that being a good mom didn't mean that I had to be with my kids or completely interacting with them 100% of the time. In fact, the lie there in that mom guilt was that if I were doing that, I would be coddling my kids constantly. I would be that helicopter mom that never let them experience, a little bit of solitude, a little bit of having to learn how to play by yourself. They wouldn't get to experience tapping into their creative minds. I watch my 6-year-old all the time when he plays, and I am mesmerized by how he could be literally strapped into a car seat. We're going somewhere, and he can put himself into his this own world, I'm sure, with full of Avengers and superheroes because he's a 6-year-old boy. It's always so cool. But he has the ability to do that. And you know what? So do our little girls. And there's times where when I remove myself from that picture and I allowed them to tap into their creativity. Or if you have siblings that are home, and there's multiple ones as we do, it allows them the time to bond and to play together. And here's the other thing. If you're a mompreneur and you're just getting started, yes, there's going to be times where you put your kids in front of Disney Junior or what's that? There's this really cool app, Minnow, that is all Christian-based children's TV shows and different things, or Veggie Tales, or maybe your favorite Disney movie. You know what? Because maybe you can't afford a babysitter just yet. Maybe you can afford a nanny or Mother's Day out. But you know that in that hour and a half that they're watching a movie, you can laser in and get so much done. So the mom guilt of thinking that you need to be in front of your kids all the time is not actually helping them. And it wouldn't have actually helped my kids. And so when I got really real with that, with myself, all of a sudden, some pressure was gone again. Then there's the mom guilt about actually asking for and receiving help. You see, that how do you do it all thing? Again, you don't. Yeah, sure, we're pretty super women and we can do incredible things, but you are not one person. And no thriving family or business is built upon one person's back. That's a house of cards, ladies, okay? And I built it. I really, for a season, felt like if I asked for or received help in any way, that I was a failure. From silly things like cleaning my own toilets. Like I felt like I had to do that. I wanted this badge on my shoulder or on my chest, or like it was an accomplishment. And I don't know where I picked that up from in life, trying probably to meet many people's expectations of how I should be a good mother or how I should also be a good business owner. But I had major hangups about admitting I couldn't do it all. So how many of you ladies are out there right now having a hard time admitting that you can't do it all? Probably a lot, I would imagine. And then even more so, admitting that you would like some help. And here's the last caveat to this is I also just wanted my husband to help. Like I expected him to. I thought that if I couldn't get all the dishes done and do health assessments and work with coaches and work social media and do all the following up, that if dishes fell in the nook and crannies of things and didn't get done, like I had an expectation without even verbalizing it, to be honest, that my husband should pick up the slack, that he should be the one doing it. And the reality is we didn't have a conversation about that. And so all this stuff can kind of spiral together as bitterness and resentment and can just filter into so many different areas of your life. When in reality, what we really need to do first is have the conversation with ourselves. We need to have the conversation with our spouse. And then we need to seek outside help. Okay. So one of the first things that I did that was one of the best things was I hired a house cleaner to come to our house at first once a month. And do you know what? That was such a relief. And it took me probably a couple of months to not feel guilty about someone cleaning my house for me. Crazy, right? But the reality is I was helping her. I was helping someone else build their business and their livelihood. And once I looked at it that way, I felt very proud of the fact that I had a skill to both be mom and mompreneur and provide someone a job and income while I was providing my family an income. So once I wrapped my head around that, outsourcing became one of the best things that we could have ever done. It led to a little bit of help with the children through Mother's Day Out programs. Shout out to Mother's Day Out programs. They're amazing. Because the reality was for me, when I was working on my business in those earlier years, I didn't need full-time childcare. That was really the goal, was with the other myth that I explained about thinking you need to be in front of your kids all the time. The reality was I just didn't want to feel like I was never with them. Like before I worked at home, I worked Monday through Saturday, early hours, late hours, because that was the nature of a personal training business. The reality was I just didn't want it to be like that again. And so when I admitted that I needed a little bit of help with the kids, I needed them out the house just maybe 2 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week for a short amount of time so I could really focus. Then our business began to grow too. So by releasing a little bit of that and saying, you know what, I don't need 5 days a week of childcare, but I would really love 2 days a week from 9 to 12 or 3 days a week from 9 to 12. And making that pivot there allowed me to focus again, creating boundaries for both where work fit in and where mom life fit in. I kind of want to go back to what we did before we have the means that we have and the team that we have. Yeah. You know, going all the way back to the time in which it was very important for us to hold on to every penny and just reinvest it back into the business, you know? And so that meant that we didn't bring in any additional childcare. So to the mom and dad that are working over the summer with their kids, building their side hustle or working towards, you know, full-time freedom and all those amazing things, what do? You know, talking with some of our friends here, you know, one of the things that I didn't realize until we had this conversation just a few minutes ago was that the thing that you should keep up with, if you have it, is like your morning routine and your health. So if you have a practice of getting up before the kids, as you like to say, beating the kids up, not giving them a black eye though, but that should still be a non-negotiable, because while the kids might be sleeping in, that can be time for you to wake up, get your wits about you. But it also could be time to work. I don't typically promote working first thing in the morning unless, you know, we're working with individuals that do have full-time jobs, or it is the best time to work.
We're in different time zones too, so
yeah.
Most of our people are East Coast.
But there has been times where, that was the right fit, that you and I were up doing a Zoom at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning, even, you know, working social media. I wouldn't say responding to messages depending on what time you're up, because, you know, you want to be conscious of time zones and people sleeping. But there are lots of things that can happen in just an hour or 2 hours while your kids are still sleeping, right? That can give you a head start in your day. And what I remember, the feeling I remember from doing that when we were in that season was peace. Like once the kids woke up and I had done X, Y, and Z, I already felt really good about my workday. Yeah. And I could actually be like intentional with them for breakfast, or say, okay, cool. Now I get to set this aside for 30 minutes to an hour, take care of the kids, have breakfast with them, you know, do whatever we're going to next after that. And then you might be going right into kid activity with them, or you might be going back into some work, you know?
And, you know, not to go back on what I said, but like if, for instance, if we have 3 days that we design around being present with the kids fully, doesn't mean like if we go somewhere and because I would tell you how kids work, and we've caught this on, you think that they want 8-10 hours of your attention, and not the case. Yeah. You give them a good 20 minutes, you give them a good hour, 2 hours, especially if we do, like, we'll probably do 2-3 hours where we go out and do an adventure or something like that, whether it's a hike, whether it's a little hard to do hikes here in the summer, but unless we go up north. But you'll be amazed that all of a sudden they don't want nothing to do with you for a couple hours because they got their fill. Yeah. And then they're okay with going to be a kid or entertaining themselves or whatever. So we'll probably sneak in work in there if we need to.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, responding to some messages, but it's also being, you know, in the appropriate place and time to do that too. not where every single time, all the time when you're with your kids, you're always feeling compelled to check everything in that moment. Like messages can wait, too. So it takes just a certain level of discernment. I think that's where people get stressed out with when the kids come home for summer and they're, like they don't want to be a bad parent and feel like they're always ignoring their kids for the sake of work. But they also don't want to feel like they're being a bad entrepreneur and ignoring their business for the sake of the kids all the time. But it's not like that. It's not, you have to give 100% to this or nothing at all. Like there's a happy medium, and finding that happy medium is so important.
Amen.
So one of the things that worked really well for me as the recovering helicopter mom, and when my kids are home, I still, we were talking about this morning. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, if I'm around them, I just want to be mom, even though I should have been in the bathroom getting ready for the podcast an hour before I did. They came out when I was out there, and that's it. I start momming, So, one of the things I wanted to make sure that I did too was like fill our cups first. Like there was certain days of the week where I got up early, I kicked my business into motion in all the right areas. Then I would decide from breakfast until lunch, we're going to go do something fun. And that would be usually about 2 days a week, where it was like from the time they woke up, not the time I woke up, but from the time they woke up, it was all about them. It was all about us having fun, making memories. And one thing I did specifically, because again, I do latch on to routine specific things pretty well, was every Friday. Every Friday, once they woke up, I'd get them all dressed, and then I'd put, the little one in the jogger strollers, and then that's back when we had two. I put them both in the jogger strollers, and I would run from our house to the community pool with them, and I have snacks and all their things. And I both got my exercise in too, so being super structured there. And then they would swim until a certain time. We'd head back to the house, lunch, and then at that point, I don't think they were napping anymore. That's the right time to start pulling out some TV, a movie. Like I have fond summer memories of watching a movie midday and just like the things that you couldn't do when you were in school. Yep. There's nothing wrong with that. When TV or technology or games get out of control is when it becomes their life, when it's always your go-to as a parent, or when you are there's fits and you're just constantly giving in to the technology and the TV and stuff. That's when it gets out of control.
No, that's when it's a warning sign. It's like,
Yeah. So that was the perfect time for me to work. So I'd pick back my work up where I had left off from the morning, and the kids needed to relax at that point, So I would pick my work back up and work as long as I could.
I just think people would just overcomplicate it all. As I'm sitting here listening to that, why is this even a topic? I'm like,
God, this is totally, I think this is very much like, a female male.
Get a grip.
Difference.
Like, what are you overwhelmed about? You had kids. You love your kids. You have work. The sun's still going to come up. It's going to go down. Chill the frig out. Like seriously. Just breathe. In and out. Like seriously. It's like you would think like it's like preparing for war or something. It's like, I don't know. I'm just like, y'all need to chill out.
It is the kind of thing, if you don't think about it,
they can make it up to be as big as y'all want it to be. Whatever you want to do. I'm trying to tell you, breathe. It's gonna be okay. Did you get through last summer? You still alive? You still kicking? You still got your job? Probably grew too. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
It's just another summer.
Yeah. Well, and it is where habits expose themselves too, though. So if you don't have structure in your business going into the summer, if you don't have
that's a good point.
I mean, so maybe that's why, a lot of people do stress out about it. It's because if you didn't have the structure, the habits going into the summer, It's when those habits are exposed by the anxiety that you have from your kids looking at you in boredom.
It goes back to, not to get off subject, but I remember walking with a mentor of ours who's a visionary. He created a co-created $1 billion company with a B, and soon to be. And I walked with him, and I'm always just looking at people who's more successful or, have wisdom. I'm always like, what can you tell me that I don't know? That's kind of like my thing. What can you tell me that I don't know? Like, and I'm walking with him, and he's walking really fast, and he'd walk fast paced at these conventions and that. And I didn't understand why, but I know now as to where he wouldn't he had to get from A to B quickly, or otherwise people would surround him. But anyway, what he said was his biggest takeaway, and I think it actually aligns with this. So I know you think I'm going squirrel, but he said, don't sweat the small stuff, because it's all small stuff. And I'm serious. That's when I think about that. Just think about the summer and how people get all stressed out about it. I'm going to keep harking on that, because it's like, I know that's not where you want to go with this, but.
No, but that's actually, when you remove the stress from it, you come up with solutions about how to spend your time too. And that was.
Are you looking for problems or solutions, right?
When I
where are you operating from?
Said to myself, like, this isn't something that I really need to be stressed about. I just need I don't have to be mom all day in front of their face.
Oh.
But I also don't have to be in front of my business all day, because that's not the type of business I run anyway. Like,
whoa, and it's like, I think we embrace summer, but I think a lot of it is procrastination too. Like, because I want to respect that some people don't have obviously the resources or the luxuries that we have, or the freedom of our schedule. Yeah. And maybe they do work a job, and I'm sure they're shaking their head, you don't understand, even though we operated from a place where they were, and we managed. I wouldn't say managed, we excelled, actually. But it comes from a place of, you got to be proactive. See, what happened was, you haven't been planning. You knew summer was coming. It comes every year.
Good point.
So I'm not trying to run your nose in it, but I'm saying this is the same thing every year. Look, here's your tip. Every year, around May, June-ish, kids are getting out of school if you have them. Like, just in case you haven't caught on to that. Yeah, I'm a smart ass. But
it's
seriously, but that's because we were operating in that realm of ridiculous, denying what was. And it's like every year, guess what? Yep. Every
it's
year,
not
Christmas
really
is
a
coming.
surprise.
Every year, holidays, summer's coming. It's not a surprise.
You have goals.
So if you were proactive and you looked at things that your kids could do, if you looked at setting up some type of child support if you needed that, if you looked and you were proactive, you'd have all your little things lined up. Like, we've been working on getting swim lessons for the kids 3 months ago. That seed was planted, and we had that worked out. So, and look, we learned this the hard way. So when I'm sitting here giving you a hard time, it's because I looked in the mirror and I gave myself a hard time. So,
correct.
That's 100%, right?
Yes.
So don't feel special, because,
Yeah, you always give yourself the hardest time first, and me too. So that is a great point. So I hope, that really rounds up kind of like the mindset behind it.
Like, please, Sam, talk to us.
Well, I will give you some more. I'm going to give you some more resources. So don't worry. But the mindset about it is really the most important piece, because once you do that, and like I said, once I removed the stress from it and was more proactive in my thinking versus being like, oh, it's summer. It's like Christmas, it's December. If you're in the health and fitness industry, it's like, your numbers are going to drop if you aren't prepared.
What is this summer thing?
Seasons come and go. But if you do have resources, okay, come off of your wallet, people. Like, if you are building, especially if you're building a side hustle and you have money coming into your household that wasn't once there, do not flinch.
Did you say layer?
There. That's my southern. See, nobody ever realizes I'm from Louisiana until something like that happens.
I did just now.
Shut up. There. But anyway, you need to come off of your wallet, and you need to invest.
You got layer. You know that rap song, Layer? You know what I'm talking about?
No, you're more into that than
more hood.
I am.
All right, go ahead.
I didn't know if that was PC.
I'm like derailing your whole.
But Yeah, you are, actually. So anyway,
She don't
take
know
some of
what
that money and invest it into some summer camps. Summer camps don't actually go all summer most of the time. I mean, yeah, I'm sure if you really look, you could go find something out there, but we've
If
always
you really don't like your kids, I'm sure you could
Goes, just
find
send them away
something
for the
that
summer.
will take them all summer.
You could. But there's some great, wonderful 1 week, 2 week long, 3-day summer camp type things. Look at dance studios, music places, churches. VBS is amazing. And I think it's like very minimal.
Yeah, those are cool.
Those are,
Those
our
are
kids
good.
have had the best time at those.
You know, they're not being indoctrinated with
Yeah.
anything either.
Babysitters, newsflash, all the young teenagers are home. Like, you could probably go knock on doors in your neighborhood and find
I don't trust that, but yeah.
someone to come and chill with you. Well, you vet them, just, I mean, come on, Harold. You're talking to the moms out here. I'm talking to the moms that need a break.
You go knock on some doors and maybe meet them at church or something. Not just knocking on doors in the hood.
I was joking. Anyway, there's things that you can do.